The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. At that time, Jesus took with him Peter and John and James, and went up on the mountain to pray. And as he was praying, the appearance of his face was off, and his clothing became dazzling white. And behold, two men were talking with him, Moses and Elijah, who appeared in glory and spoke of his departure, which he was about to accomplish at Jerusalem. Now Peter and those who were with him were heavy with sleep, but when they became fully awake, they saw his glory and the two men who stood with him. And as the men were parting from him, Peter said to Jesus, Master, it is good that we are here. Let us make 3 tents, one for you, and one for Moses, and one for Elijah, not knowing what he said. As he was saying these things, a cloud came and overshadowed them, and they were afraid as they entered the cloud. And a voice came out of the cloud, saying, This is my son, my chosen one. Listen to him. And when the voice had spoken, Jesus was found alone. And they kept silent and told no one in those days anything of what they had said. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise be to God.
As he was praying, Peter and those who were with him were heavy with sleep. Whereas we have this morning from the Gospel of Luke chapter 9, 28b-36. In the Gospel of today, taken from the account of St. Luke, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, and went up on the mountain to pray. And when he was praying, Peter and his disciples were heavy with sleep. The immediate interpretation would be that while Jesus was praying, Peter, James, and John were deep asleep. It could also mean that while Jesus was praying, Peter and his companions were struggling to stay awake. That is, they were sleeping. It could also mean that as Jesus was praying, Peter and his disciples were not paying attention to what Jesus was doing. However way you want to interpret it or look at it, the fact is that Peter, James, and John knowingly went up to the mountain in the presence of God to pray. Although they were physically present with Jesus, but they didn't join him in the prayers. The Bible didn't tell us why they fell asleep during prayers. Maybe they were tired, having climbed the mountain. Tiredness is a human factor. It could make you fall asleep, even in the presence of God. It could happen to any one of us. However, let us not worry why Peter, James, and John fell asleep and they didn't join Jesus in the prayers. Let us rather examine and rate our individual participation whenever we come into the presence of God to pray or to worship, even as we are doing now. So, the questions are, do you lose concentration during Mass? Do you sometimes struggle to remain active and alert, even in your own private prayers, or when we gather together as one family to worship God? do you struggle to remain focused? What could be the reasons? Generally speaking, there could be two major factors or reasons. Number one, the nature of the service. It could be that the service is boring, it's dull. There's little or no life in it. There is no excitement. And when there is no excitement, absolutely there is no interest. It could be because of the monotonous nature of our worship. There is no variation. Everything is the same every time. Perhaps the only difference is the readings and perhaps the comedy. But everything is the same. Most of you can respond to every part of the Mass, even from your subconscious. If I move from here, you know the next I'm going to do. If I say anything, you know the response, even without looking at the projector. So it is so monotonous. And that is why you might stay here, because when the human mind is not actively engaged, when the human mind doesn't find an event exciting, it automatically switches itself off. And that is why you might be here physically looking at me, I'm looking at you, but your mind is somewhere else, perhaps taking you back to some old sweet memories, and you are there enjoying it while seated here. It could also take you into a world of fantasy, building things, imaginary things for you, and you are enjoying it because the mind is not actively engaged. What is happening around it doesn't excite it. Besides the monotonous nature of the worship, it could also be that the minister, in this case, the priest, makes the Mass boring for you. The way he conducts it, the way he celebrates the Mass. Even when you try to engage actively, you can't, because the minister doesn't make it easy for you to connect. You struggle to be actively involved or participate actively. But you can't, because whoever is presiding or conducting the Mass doesn't make it easy for you to connect, to follow, to feel life in what is being done. Or it could be the choir. If they sing off key, or their music is not interesting to you, what happens? You switch off, but not this choir. So, my choir is great. Yeah, so the choir, this is our collective appreciation and encouragement, okay? Good. So the fact is, I hope that I, your priest, I am not boring to you. However, if for any reason you find our Sunday Mass boring, please find a way to communicate that to me. We must find a way to make it, to put more life into it, to make you feel more active and more enthusiastic about coming to Mass. Another factor that could make us lose concentration, even in the presence of God, could be our experiences of life. Maybe we're going through some difficulties, some problems, some worries. These worries can take our minds away, even while we are in the presence of God. We concentrate on the problems. We are thinking about how to deal with our workplace, the family matters, all things, even when we are seated here. As I said, we focus on the enormity of our problem, forgetting the strength of and the presence of God. So we go back to that big question. Do you sometimes struggle with concentration in your private prayers or even at Mass? How do you handle it? Now let's go back and end with the experience of Peter. When Jesus Christ took Peter and his companions up to the mountain, the purpose was to pray. Jesus started the prayers, Peter and his companions fell asleep. However, when Peter woke up, when he became awake, he recognized how beautiful it was to be in the presence of God. he became excited. He became happy. So happy that he said to Jesus, Master, it is indeed wonderful. It is indeed good for us to be here. Although I fell asleep, but now, please, I'm awake. I don't want this experience to come to an end. I don't want us to live here. Please, can we build 3 tents? One for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. Because it is good to be in your presence. Let us remain here. I hope you will always have that joyful motivation to come for Mass, to be in the presence of God. I hope you always feel excited every Sunday to come here. I hope that our Sunday Masses will be so inspiring that you always look forward to it. That even at your workplace, you will tell them, please, don't give me a shift on Sundays because I want to be as an Anthony's. I hope you always feel the need to come around. That this 1 hour we have every week to spend in the presence of God, that you may recognize how precious it is. That nothing, no one, even the priests, wouldn't distract you or take away that precious moment from you. So, like Peter, we can always say to ourselves, it is wonderful to be here. So, dear friends, when you struggle with concentration, even in your own private prayers, when you struggle with being awake and active while we gather here for Mass, do not allow such experience to discourage you. It is a human factor. Just work on it. When Peter fell asleep, right in the presence of Jesus Christ during prayers, Jesus did not punish him because he understood it was a human factor. So do not punish yourself, and do not allow such experience to discourage you from praying or from coming to Mass. Just work on it. And just as Peter, as soon as you reconnect, as soon as you become awake, please always enjoy the moment. Maximize every moment you have to be in the presence of God. So, I think, actually, that going forward, when we come here to pray, part of our private prayers will be, Lord, whenever I come into your presence, please help me to remain active. Help me to remain alert. Do not allow me to be distracted. Do not allow me to lose my concentration when I am with